I've got a quick tutorial for you today on how to add wired ribbon tails into your Deco Mesh wreath. When you're choosing your ribbon for your ribbon tails for any wreath, I always recommend that you choose wired ribbon. It's my preferred method to pair a 2.5-inch ribbon with a 1.5-inch ribbon. I feel like that really gives lots of depth and dimension and character to your Deco Mesh wreath. And I always measure the 2.5-inch ribbon at 12 inches. So you want those tails to be 12 inches. And in order to get those 12 inches, friends, let me just show you real quickly an easy way to cut your ribbon with quickness. An easy way to cut your ribbon with quickness in bulk if you don't have a ribbon board is to simply measure out your ribbon at 12 inches using your self-healing mat or a ruler. And once you find that 12-inch spot, then just mark it with your finger, lay it flat on its back and pinch it down, and then you're just going to fold your ribbon over the number of times that you need. In my case, I'll be needing 6 pieces. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you have that exact number of pieces, friends, just go ahead and cut your ribbon off. Set that roll off to the side. Then, keeping your ribbon stacked together, find that center. Slide your scissors up into that center and cut them in half there at the end. Flip your ribbon stack over and do the exact same thing on the other side. And instantly, you have the exact number of pieces of ribbon that you need. So you can choose then if you want to trim your tails with an angle cut or a dovetail cut. If you're not familiar with how to cut a dovetail, let me just get a scrap piece of ribbon. To make a dovetail, you simply fold your ribbon in half. Place your scissors on the folded side, not the open side, coming down 1/2 to 3/4 an inch, cutting up on the diagonal to the corner. And when you open your ribbon, then you'll have a nice dovetail. To cut your ribbon at an angle, which is how I'm going to trim my ribbon today, first of all, don't overload your scissors. Know the strength of your scissors and the quality of your scissors and how many ribbons your scissors can comfortably cut. If you overload them, then you'll have a jagged edge. Marry your tops, and for an angle cut, come down 3/4 inch on the side and cut up on the diagonal to your corner. Flip your ribbon stack over to the other end. Make sure those ends are all equal and married up. Do the exact same thing, come down 3/4 inch, cut up on the diagonal. And now both of your ends are trimmed at the diagonal going the same direction. And you can move on to your next stack. So I recommend ribbon prepping before you add your tails in. And ribbon prepping just means that you're cutting all of the pieces that you need and getting them ready to stuff into your wreath base all at one time. Once you have your ribbon tails cut and the ends trimmed, go ahead and pair them up in the order that you'd like to place them. You always want to place 2 ribbon tails per set of ties on your Deco Mesh wreath. And as I mentioned earlier, friends, it's my preference to marry a 1.5-inch ribbon with a 2.5-inch ribbon. It's certainly your choice though. I just recommend that you do add 2 ribbons. And so I like to just pair them up so that I can visually see the order that I'd like to place them together. And so I've got these 3 ribbon sets that I'll be pairing together, each one with a 2.5 inch ribbon, each one with a 1.5 ribbon. I'll then sit them off to the side so that each pair is side by side. And then go ahead and grab your Deco mesh. I already have this wreath base prepped, friends. This is actually a 14.5 inch wired wreath base with 25 inch cruffles in each attachment, in each tie. And each tie is left intact. And if you've not worked with a wreath base before, friends, they're kind of like stiff Chanel stems or pipe cleaners. And so to add your tails into the Chanel stems, I alternate back and forth to give good variety. And so I simply take the 2.5 inch ribbon tail, lay that in my hand, place that 1.5 inch ribbon tail in my hand on the center. Then either by eyeballing it, find your center point, or you can fold it in half. Give it a little pinch, and then that bent area is your center. Then with your thumb and your pointer finger, you'll pinch and pleat at that middle center until you have what resembles a men's bow tie. Then just kind of push that up and over your finger so that it looks like a V. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can either start at your top layer of ties or your bottom layer, it matters not. For purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to start at the top. You'll add that center of your V right down to the base of your Chanel stems. Give it a couple of tight ties, and then fluff out your ribbon tails. And by fluff, that just means you can kind of pull them in place, lay them how you would like to lay them. The great thing about wired ribbon is that it will hold the shape that you push it into. So that's why that's the preferred. Then just spin your Deco mesh wreath around. Find your next set of ribbon pairs. Again, taking the 2.5 inch tail, laying on top the 1.5 inch tail, finding that center by folding it in half. And then that middle line is your center. Pinch and pleat, pinch and pleat. Fold that into a V over your finger. It's okay if it's sloppy looking or crooked. And then just add that into your next set of wreath ties. Place the center of your ribbon V all the way down to the base of those ties. Give them a couple of tight twists and fluff out your ribbon. And you just keep doing this all the way around your wreath base, friends, on both the upper and the lower level. Now, when it comes to your ties, a couple of things. If you are adding in additional pieces or embellishments of any sort, of course, you would leave those ties on so that you could use them to continue to build up your wreath. Most times when you're making a Deco mesh wreath and adding in tails, the tails is the last step. So once you get those ribbon tails added into your base and twisted down tightly, then just grab a pair of wire snips. You can get these from the hardware section or from Amazon. I'll actually leave a link to these below in case you'd like to grab a pair. And then you simply take your snips and snip off each of these bits so that they're out of the way and not visible. And there you have it, friends. That's how you add your ribbon tails. So again, each tail is 12 inches in length. Once you've cut all of your ribbon pieces, go ahead and trim your ends, either at an angle as we've done here, or by dovetail. Pleat them together in the center, fold them into a V over your finger, and then add them down to the center of your ties, couple of tight twists, and fluff out your ribbon tails. That's it, friends. Easy peasy. I hope you enjoyed this quick ribbon tail tutorial. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like all things wreath making, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks, friends. Happy crafting.